This is example 1 for the cut extrudes and construction geometry lesson. We're going to begin example 1 for the cut extrudes and construction geometry with some base geometry already completed. So to begin this example, the first step is going to be to go up and select Save As from the Save drop-down menu, and we're going to navigate to the location where we're saving our files. And now, because this is the first example of a new lesson, let's create a folder called L4 for lesson 4, cut extrudes and construction geometry. Now within that folder we can rename this lesson from starting point to your own name. Again, in my case I'm going to use instructor. And we can go ahead and save that file. Now let's take a quick look at what's been created for us. In the Base Geometry tab folder, we'll see that it's just one simple extrude, and if we look at the definition of that extrude, we've used a mid-plane extrude, and we've also centered our sketch over top of the origin. This has been done to maintain the origin in the center of our part file, and it's going to assist us in centering each of our circles on the faces of our part. Now for this lesson, we are going to be looking at the cut extrudes feature as well as the circle tool. And cut extrudes remove material from geometry that's already completed. The other thing we're going to look at is how we can sketch on the face of an object instead of sketching simply on the planes. So to start, let's select the side face of this object. We know we're selecting a face because we get this square green icon. When we select that face from our context toolbar, select the sketch tool. And we've now started a sketch on that side face. Before we begin sketching, we're going to select normal to, so we're looking directly at our sketch. And then from our sketch tools toolbar, we can select the circle command. You'll see that there's two methods of drawing a circle. One is with the center point and a radial point, and the other is with 3 radial points. We'd like to use the center point and radial point. So with that type selected, we can come over and we're going to select the origin, and we'll notice that the origin is in the center of our part because we used that mid-plane extrude and had centered our sketch over the origin. So we simply have to select the origin and drag up and release that circle. Next, to add our smart dimension, I'm going to select my D key on the keyboard to activate the smart dimension command. We're going to simply select that circle and drop our dimension and follow that by adding a dimension of 1 inch. So we've now fully defined our sketch. It's complete. We're ready to create our feature. I'm just going to use my middle mouse wheel to rotate my part around a little bit so I've got a bit more of an isometric view. Then I'll select the features toolbar, and this time select the extruded cut feature. We'll see that the extruded cut feature looks very similar to a boss extrude. We've still got the drop down for end conditions. We've got the option to draft it. We've got the option to have a second direction. But the thing we didn't have an option for before is the flip side to cut. What this will do is cut away all the material outside of our sketch profile instead of inside of our sketch profile. However, for our example, we want to remove the material within our sketch profile, so I'm going to unselect that checkbox. But I am going to change it from a blind extrude to a through-all extrude. What this does is force the extrude to completely go through all of our geometry. And later, if we were to change the size of our geometry, that cut extrude will continue to go completely through our geometry. So with that complete, we can accept those settings. And we have now added another feature to our feature tree. The next cut we want to do is on the top surface, so I'll select that top surface. And then I'm going to select Sketch. and again normal to look directly at that surface, followed by the circle command. Again using the primary circle command with a center point and a radial point. Select my origin again, which again is centered in our box. I'll drag up and draw that circle and select the D command for smart dimensions and apply a dimension of 3/4 of an inch. This can be done by typing .75, or we could type 3 divided by 4, and that would also apply a 3/4 inch circle. SolidWorks will do the math for you. Again, I'm going to rotate my part around so I've got a bit of a better view of what's going on when I create my cut extrude. And for this cut extrude, we want the cut to come in and just stop as it hits both of these circles. So we'll select the features and the cut extrude tool. You can see that this blind extrude isn't far enough, so I could simply just drag my extrude down and use my ruler here to snap to a location that's all the way through. But the problem with this would be if we updated our sketch, the cut extrude's not going to update properly. If we made the box 6 inches bigger, the cut extrude's going to stop somewhere up in here. So we want to use an up to next cut extrude. By selecting up to next, that cut is going to go until it terminates at the 2 previous holes. And we'll see by updating our part how that will affect it. So we've completed this part, and we want to take a look at how the parametrics worked, and we're also going to take a look at how we can modify a part. There's 2 methods we can modify a part. One is to simply select the plus sign beside each of these features, and we can see that the sketch used to create the feature is dependent on that feature. If we were to select that feature, our context toolbar allows us to edit the feature or edit the sketch. If we edit the feature, we're initially prompted with the dialog box we filled in when we completed the feature. Or if we were to edit the sketch, we'd be given the sketch and we're in the sketch and we can modify that sketch. To exit the sketch, simply select Save and Exit. But the third way to modify a part is probably the most powerful way, and that's simply to select a face, and when you've selected a face, the dimensions that are relevant to that particular face and the particular features used in conjunction with that face will appear, and we can see that we have the dimensions used, and at the end of each of these dimensions there's a small blue ball. We can drag that ball, and again we get that ruler. We can drag it to any location we want. We can see the model updating in real time. I'm going to just go ahead and drag this to 3 inches, so I'll snap along my ruler. Oh, I've gone too far here. Go back a little bit. There we go, I'm at 3 inches. Then I'm going to modify this dimension to 3 inches as well. However, when I modify this dimension, I'm going to simply double click it, and we'll see that we also get that ability to change it, except in this case we can enter in an exact dimension. If I hadn't double clicked it, I would also get the ability to change it, and it would actually update in real time. However, when you double click, you get that initial box that you used. Just want to take a quick look and see how this up to next cut extrude has continued to terminate when it got to those holes. And that through all cut extrude, even though the size of the box changed because we didn't use a blind cut extrude, it continues to completely go through our object. So that concludes our example 1 for the cut extrudes in construction geometry. We've had the added little tip to learn how to modify our part files after we've created them. I trust it was a help. It's time for you to go ahead and try and complete this file on your own.